If you were the quiet kid growing up, the one who watched more than they spoke, who felt everything but said almost nothing, nobody ever told you this. But that wasn't shyness, that was survival. And it left a mark on you that you're probably still carrying into every room you walk into today. Here's what nobody talks about when they talk about quiet children. It wasn't that you had nothing to say, you had everything to say. You just learned, very early, probably before you were old enough to have words for it, that saying the wrong thing at the wrong moment cost you something. Maybe it was your parents' mood shifting. Maybe it was being laughed at once and never forgetting the feeling. Maybe the house you grew up in had this low, invisible tension, like a wire pulled too tight, and you became an expert at not being the one to snap it. So you got quiet, and then quiet became you. Psychologists call this hypervigilance. It's when a child's nervous system gets so practiced at scanning the emotional environment for danger, not physical danger, just the kind that comes from unpredictable people, that it becomes their default mode. You became fluent in subtext before you could read. You could tell when an adult was pretending to be fine. You knew whose footsteps meant what when they came down the hallway. And from the outside, you probably looked easy, low maintenance, mature. But inside, you were exhausted. Here's where it gets interesting, though, and stay with me here because this part matters. That same wiring that made childhood hard, it gave you something that most people genuinely don't have. You read people accurately, not perfectly, but with a depth that takes others decades to develop, if they ever do. You notice the thing that went unsaid in a conversation. You feel when someone's smile doesn't quite reach their eyes. You give people room to be complicated because you've always known people are complicated. That's not a small thing. That's actually rare.
But here's the problem, and this is the part I really want you to sit with. A lot of quiet kids grow into adults who are incredibly good at making other people feel understood and almost completely unable to ask for the same thing back. You got so good at not needing things that you stopped knowing what you needed. You made yourself easy to be around and hard to really know. You became someone who listens deeply and shares carefully and tells yourself that's just your personality. But what if it's not your personality? What if it's a strategy, a very old, very smart strategy that kept you safe when you were small, that you just never got the memo that you could put down? Researcher Bessel van der Kolk, who spent decades studying trauma in the body, found something profound. The nervous system doesn't know the difference between then and now. It keeps running the same programs, the same threat assessments, long after the original threat is gone. Which means some of you are still tiptoeing through rooms that are completely safe, still swallowing words that deserve to be heard, still making yourself smaller in relationships where someone would actually choose the full-size version of you. That's not weakness. I want to be really clear about that. That's what it looks like when a smart, sensitive person spent years adapting to an environment that didn't quite fit them. The fact that you're here, watching this, asking these questions about yourself, that already means something. The quiet kid figured out how to survive. Now you get to figure out how to live. And that's a completely different skill set. But for the first time in your life, you're building it on your terms. If this hits somewhere specific, drop a comment, even just a word. I read them. And if you know someone who was that kid growing up, the quiet one, the watchful one, share this with them. Sometimes people need to hear that someone noticed. I'll see you in the next one.